Okay, so we got some positive news coming out of Florida here at the Rainbow Wood Estates. Here, the Ocala Star Banner is reporting that the self-defense argument has been upheld. No death charges in the December shooting in West Marion County. Sean Nieder will not face charges. It was determined that a fight had let's jump into here. So it's positive in the fact that like we're actually getting news that self-defense has been upheld. Oftentimes you'll hear about an altercation then maybe never again. So I always like being able to follow up on positive news. Though, of course, as always, new evidence could show up that could flip this entire case on its head. But prosecutors have declined to charge a man who shot and killed another man a few months ago in the Rainbow Lake Estates subdivision of West Marion County, stating they're unable to disprove beyond a reasonable doubt Sean Nieder's decision to use deadly force, that it was used unreasonable. The assistant state attorney, Rich Buxman, in a memorandum about the case, he said, additional evidence or testimony as it pertains, the decision may be revisited. Of course, they always want to leave the option on the table. Of course, if they actually went through with charges and he was proven innocent without, to the same standards, he would be a free man for the rest of his life. But they want to leave that option open. So Jeffrey Robbins was shot once in the upper right chest, according to the autopsy report, and the same report indicated in his blood alcohol level was a 0.229. So he was a little toasty at the time. So at the time of his death, Robin was 3 days shy of his 42nd birthday, and the man who admitted to shooting him was 31. Not too far apart, 10 years, essentially. According to the Buxman Manor, the sheriff deputies were called to the Sherwood Drive address at the Rainbow Lake Estates subdivision near the Denolian in the early morning hours of December 14th. So this happened late last year, according to someone who called 911 about reporting a shooting. When deputies arrived, they saw Robinson laying on the roadway, and a woman was performing life-saving measures. Several people in the nearby residence were told to come outside. Nieder was among the people who exited the residence. The gun used in the shooting and the video footage were collected by deputies. According to the Buxman memo, videos show utility terrain vehicle UTV with 3 men, one of them being Robbins. Arriving at the locations, Robin is seen getting out of the UTV, walking into the driveway, holding what appears to be a beer can. There was an argument between Robbins, Nieder, and one of the other men in the UTV. During the argument, other people showed up, apparently trying to defuse the situation. Of course, more people getting involved. Always a great situation. People stepping in separate to separate Nieder and Robbins. Nieder shoved Robbins, and Robbins threw what he had in his hand in Nieder's direction. The object missed and instead struck Nieder's relative in the face, the memo stated. So, I mean, Nieder not necessarily starting off great by pushing him, but maybe he's just trying to get somebody out of his face who was pushing into him. It does seem like we'll see later that he was getting close to him and pushing into him. So pushing him away isn't necessarily, in my opinion, too far. I don't think pushing somebody away and saying stop is, in my opinion, too much. But to some, that can be considered an assault. But in my opinion, the difference is what's happening before you just push somebody. Roberts and Nieder began fighting, with several people trying to separate them. After a brief separation, Robinson went at Nieder. So Nieder, seeing somebody throw a beer can hitting his relative in the face, he's probably upset about this. And of course, Robbins, probably not liking being pushed. He is severely inebriated at this time, doesn't want to be pushed. After trying to have an argument separated between him and this man, they start a furtherance of the fight. But Of course, that's not where it ends. So Robbins went at Neener again, who at this point was on his knees. So they're in the fight. Neener is getting, at least beaten down to the point where he's on his knees. At this point, his jacket's also pulled over his head and his back is turned to Robbins. So Robbins has the upper hand. Neener is not necessarily in an advantageous point to defend himself. He's actually got his head turned around. His back is to him. As Neener tried to stand up, Roberts punched him in the head and he fell. So, playing kind of dirty. Of course, the altercation didn't start out right, but at any point after Robbins felt, Robbins could walk away, and Neener already tried to walk away. Robbins was about to punch Neener again when Neener grabbed a gun from his waistband, carrying down in what he was carrying, and shot Robbins. The crime scene technicians recovered a 9mm shell casing, according to the prosecutor's memo. So he only shot once, got him right into the chest. The interviews with the detectives, he said there had been a prior dispute between him and Robbins. So this guy already knows Robbins, and on the day in question, he said that he and Robbins argued. Neener said before the physical altercation, he tried to back away because Robbins is bigger than him. So he's already had an altercation with this guy previously to this. Then Robbins is returning to the situation inebriated. So not in a great frame of mind, at least. You could imagine where things can go south from there. Of course, being inebriated doesn't mean you just automatically lose your right to life, but failing to de-escalate a situation and leave it to harsh words maybe is not a great choice. And not to mention you're punching somebody in the back of the head. It's not even a fair fight really at this point. And it says Neener said that Neener said Robbins started the contact by bumping into people. Neener did admit to pushing Robbins, and then Robbins threw the beer. So if pushing someone's an assault and you're already chest bumping people or running into people and trying to use your larger size to show superior strength in an argument, then how is that not much the same as trying to push somebody away to de-escalate or to add separation between you and the person? In my opinion, I don't necessarily think what Neener did would be considered assault, in the fact that he's got somebody in his personal space bumping into him already. So pushing away is a natural response, at least in my opinion. Neener said Robbins tackled him, held him down and hit him. He said Robbins was on top of him and had his jacket pulled over his head, and he felt overpowered, according to the memo. And of course, this is leading to the all-important, you felt for your life, which is always the key when it comes to self-defense. Robbins said he felt he was going to be knocked out or beaten to death, fearing for his life. So he grabbed his gun and fired a shot. He told detectives the gun did belong to him, which is, great, awesome. Hopefully it's your gun. But I personally believe you have the right to defend yourself with whatever you have near you. And here in a little bit, I'll have another story where that actually kind of comes into play. In the memo, prosecutor said Buxman noted that Neener's interview was generally consistent with what the surveillance video showed. Officers said Neener's injuries were also consistent with what he told the investigators. No prosecution because there could be because there could be a claim of self-defense. Prosecutors said they'd have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that Neener did not act in self-defense and was not in fear for his life or the life of another, which he just saw his relative get hit in the face by a beer can. They're starting a fight. He already fears for his life from this person because he's been aggressive to him before and is much larger and more powerful than him, or at least that is how he felt. He did say he was being overpowered. So, in my opinion, I think this is a pretty clear-cut self-defense. Nobody should ever just have to fear for their life from somebody who's coming back to a situation that's already been heated, inebriated. He's getting all up in your grill. He's coming up, bumping up on your chest. he's starting the aggression, and you're just trying to separate and not have aggression continue. Reviewing the case, Buxman determined that Niner was in a place where he was legally allowed to be, and therefore he had no duty to retreat. Of course, personally, I'm a big stand your ground kind of person. I don't think that in many cases or most cases you have a duty to retreat if somebody's attacking you. There's very few situations where I think you do necessarily have a duty to retreat. So as the video showed, Niner defended himself when he used deadly force. When he was on the ground and had been struck several times in the head by Robbins and possibly other times immediately prior. You couldn't get much more clear self-defense than somebody literally beating you in the back of the head while you are down on the ground. At that point, the argument should be over. If Robbins feels like he was assaulted by the push, getting the altercation to stop, i.e., diffusing the situation. Theoretically, that's what self-defense is. You're not shooting to kill the person. You're shooting to end the situation. The man was on the ground with a jacket over his head. You can easily be like, "Are we done?" And then call the cops from there. And Robbins might even have been found to be acting in self-defense from the push. I'm not saying that's necessarily what would have happened, but I think Niner definitely acted in the right in this situation. He waited until it was honestly maybe just a little too life-threatening before he advanced to further power. The memo reports Robin was primary aggressor in the original altercation, and the individuals who initially advanced on the victim and turned into a verbal argument into a physical one, which I totally agree. It's one thing to be yelling at somebody across the room. Freedom of speech, you should be able to say whatever you need to somebody or feel like you should say to somebody. But as soon as you get up into somebody's personal space and start making physical contact between your two bodies, that's where you've gotten out of line. It also stated that Niner shoved Robbins, and Niner turned and to step away from the altercation. So he was in his grill and he pushed him, exactly what I'm saying. And in my opinion, that's trying to end the physical contact, thereby escalating the situation. Robbins threw the beer can at Niner, of course, not hitting him, hitting a relative, which escalated the situation. Couldn't agree more. You should never throw somebody a projectile, essentially. If that can's even remotely full, it becomes even much more of a harder projectile. During the fight, the prosecutor wrote that despite others' effort to separate the men, Roberts continued to make an effort to advance on Sean Niner and re-engage him in physical altercation. Also, Niner was hit by Robbins when his back was turned to the prosecutor said. Robbins continued the pursuit and was about to hit Niner when he was shot, according to the memo. As such, the state is unable to file criminal charges against Sean Niner for the shooting death of Jeffrey Robbins, Buxman concluded. And this is the prosecutor even straight up saying, he's like, looking at the facts, I don't feel like I can prosecute. And I think that's obviously going to be to Niner's benefit. So, of course, future evidence could come out in this case that would show that Niner didn't act in self-defense, but by the looks of it, the security cameras, the wounds, and of course the eyewitnesses, it seems pretty clear-cut self-defense. And this one, of course, a little longer because we actually have the aftermath. Usually a lot of the stories that I'm reporting are things that happened much more recent, and the full story or the full evidence hasn't been completely stated. We just have the glimpse that the officers hear. But this one, we actually know a little more of what happened, and I couldn't agree. It's clear-cut self-defense. I don't feel like he should be charged, and the good thing is they're not. So get in those comments. Let me know, what do you think of Niner's actions and Robbins' actions? Let me know, do you think this was clear-cut self-defense? If you found value with this video, if you could smash that like button, that would help me out and the video a lot. If you want to hear more stories like this related to the Second Amendment and self-defense, this one ending in a positive note, subscribe to Armed Culture. My name's Steven, and I look forward to seeing you more.